I'm Dan Jenkins. I'm Dan_Jenkins on Twitter. I run a business in the UK called Nimble Ape Limited. We do real-time communication consultancy. I organize a conference in the UK called ComCon, and I'm a Google developer expert. I don't work for Google. It's a program run by Google to kind of rubber stamp people. I love open source software. That's why I'm here. I also love Lego. If you've ever seen one of my talks in the past, there's usually quite a lot of Lego. But virtual reality doesn't kind of match up with Lego. So no Lego this time. So I'm a Node.js expert. I'm a WebRTC expert. And some of you might know me as that web guy who does telephony. So Nimble Ape Limited, RTC consultancy. We do WebRTC stuff. We do Asterisk stuff, FreeSwitch, Elio, and Dractio, among a ton of other stuff as well. But WebRTC is really kind of my passion. And then Asterisk kind of with the new APIs, like the ARI. Like this morning's keynote, the bridge that everything got played into, that was all built on ARI. ComCon. I've got to do a little bit of self-plugging here, haven't I? So ComCon is a conference in the UK. It's a little bit different to any other conference within this space. It's a residential conference, so people pay one price. Everyone stays at the same hotel. It includes everything other than drink. And it forces everyone to be together. There's only like 100, 150 tickets, and so it's very, very different to Astricon. But you get a very, very different experience. We had speakers from Slack, we had speakers from Atlassian, we had Sean McCord, who will be doing a talk at some point this week, if not already. We did falconry and owls and stuff in the evenings. It was great fun. And if you missed it last year and you want to come, it will be back next year. Keep an eye on comcon.xyz. So into the talk topic. Asterisk, WebRTC, and WebVR. Well, first of all, I had to change the title. It's now, WebVR is now called WebXR. I'll talk a little bit about that. So let's have a bit of audience participation. Who's heard of Asterisk? Okay, let's try that again. Like, I know it's lunch. Who's heard of Asterisk? Good, okay, we're getting there. Who's heard of WebRTC? Okay, a better question. Who's built something with WebRTC? Okay, another question. Who's deployed something that they've built with WebRTC? That's what I expect. So pretty much everyone's heard of WebRTC now. A lot of people have tried to build something with it, and they might have kind of built a little demo with it or whatever. Very, very few people have actually gone and deployed WebRTC into production with real people using it. It's kind of another talk. I've talked an awful lot about WebRTC in the past. WebXR or WebVR. Who's heard of WebXR, WebVR? Was that one hand? 2 hands? Okay. 3 hands. Awesome. Then you're going to love this talk. Okay. And I guess just for who's seen one of my talks before? Okay, that's a good number. Okay. So the who, the why, the what. Why did I want to build something with WebVR? I'm a web guy, so it's kind of in the name. Because I could, because it was a cool new technology. Why did I get involved with WebRTC way back when, 7 years ago? Because it was a cool technology. Us web developers like to kind of try new things that are kind of very temperamental and break. And yeah, I wanted to play with a new web technology, and if I don't put a talk into a conference and force myself to kind of go build something with it, I'm never actually going to get the time to do it because I've got clients and everything. So putting a talk into a conference forces me to do that. When I put the talk in, I wasn't even sure whether or not it was physically possible to make my demo work. I thought it was. It probably was going to work, but I had no idea whether or not I would fail miserably on stage or whether or not it would be a great success. The aim of the demo was to create an immersive experience using Asterisk and web technologies to make a conference. And things I needed to be able to do that. Asterisk 16, I could have actually used 15, but you know, I'm a web guy, I like bleeding edge stuff. An SFU conferencing bridge, which was new in 15, and I need Asterisk to be WebRTC enabled. WebRTC in the browser, I needed all of my nice codecs like Opus and VP8 and VP9, and WebRTC gives us that peer-to-peer connection. So pretty much everyone said, I know about WebRTC, but does everyone know how WebRTC works? Who doesn't know how WebRTC truly works? Okay, so I'll explain that a little bit. So WebRTC is kind of like SIP and RTP, but it's secure. Secure by default, and there's no signaling mechanism within the WebRTC standard. So when it comes to signaling with WebRTC and Asterisk, we end up using SIP over WebSocket. And basically that means in a browser I can initiate a WebSocket connection up to Asterisk, send up my usual SIP stuff, like an invite, with some ICE candidates in it so that it knows how to come back to my browser. And then the browser and Asterisk negotiate a DTLS tunnel between the two, and I send media through that tunnel. It's that simple how WebRTC works. Because Google and the Digium team and the Sangoma team now have done all the work for us. It's really, really that simple. But there's so many benefits to WebRTC that we're seeing more and more people build things with WebRTC that we would have built with say, SIP and RTP before. We're building soft phones that don't use SIP. We're building soft phones that use WebRTC because it gives us encryption by standard. It gives us really, really quick call setup times because it's already taken care of NAT and everything for us. And there's always progression within the WebRTC libraries. So that's why WebRTC is kind of awesome, and that's why we're using it more and more. The fact that WebRTC has web in the name kind of means bugger all now. At the very beginning, it was designed so that we could use cameras and microphones and send media from a browser. That was the thought. But there are actually more native applications using WebRTC now than there are web applications. Like Facebook Messenger in the browser uses WebRTC, but Facebook Messenger on your phone, a native app, uses WebRTC too. So the fact that it has web in the name kind of means bugger all. It's just an encrypted media stream. So WebXR. So what else did I need? WebXR. So in my case, WebXR, I need one of these. I need a Pixel 2. There's lots of other Android phones that support VR. So I need a Pixel 2, and then I also need a headset. In this case, I've got a Google Daydream with the little remote that you get with it. And what you do is you unclip it, you go to the website or the app or whatever, and then you chuck your phone in, and hey presto, you've got a VR experience using your phone. So I've been talking about what I need, and I'm using WebXR. What is WebXR? So let's take a step back. What's WebVR? What was my original title to my talk? So I'm going to take this from the original draft. WebVR is an open specification that makes it possible to experience VR in your browser. The goal is to make it easier for everyone to get into VR experiences, no matter what device you have. That was the goal for WebVR. WebXR, sorry. WebVR kind of transitioned into WebXR. And from what I understand, Mozilla were a big part of this, and a couple of other companies were a big part of saying, well, we've got VR, but we've also got AR, we've got loads of these other ways of having these three-dimensional spaces. We should really have one specification for all of those things. And that's how WebXR got made. So it's now part of what they call an immersive web working group. And basically, X means pretty much anything. The main thing that springs to mind is augmented reality. So Microsoft have something called HoloLens. Who's heard of HoloLens? Okay, HoloLens is like a headset that has like a clear screen on it, so you can still see the room, but stuff gets projected onto the screen, basically. And so it allows you to have a view of a room, but still have things like, I look down at the floor and I could see a football or whatever. It's not there, it's in augmented reality. So that's the idea of WebXR. And WebXR works across loads and loads of different devices, which is really cool because you can get into it really cheaply. So Google Cardboard, I think Google released their first cardboard probably 5 years ago now at Google I/O. And it is just a bit of cardboard with some lenses in it, and then you fold up the thing like into a box, and hey presto, you've got VR goggles. Dirt cheap. We've got Daydream. Daydream costs, well, my first Daydream that I bought cost me $100. The second one was really great. It was on sale and it was $50. I'm not quite sure how much it is today. I think it's probably $50, which is nothing. And then there's loads of other ones. So it's not just headsets that you put a phone into. It's dedicated headsets as well. So PlayStation VR, HTC Vive, Oculus Go, Oculus Rift. And then all the Windows mixed reality ones like HoloLens. But yeah, when it comes to things like Daydream, Android is pretty much your platform of choice. iOS does not support WebVR, which kind of sucks massively. But should we expect anything else from Apple? We're 7 years in, and we just got WebRTC into Safari, and it's not even complete. If you want a little bit of background, so WebRTC within Safari is there now, but it only supports the H.264 codec, which means when we do a demo where we're using an SFU, I'll talk what an SFU is. If one person's on, say, Android, and they're sending up a VP8 stream, and someone's on an iOS phone, that VP8 stream gets passed over to iOS, and iOS goes, no, don't know how to do that. There was just a commit putting VP8 into WebKit, so hopefully very, very soon, this whole mess will get sorted. But WebRTC is kind of amazing / frustrating beyond all belief all at the same time. But that's why people hire me. So WebXR, so yeah, it's VR in a browser, AR in a browser, and you can use existing headsets, existing handsets. And the amazing thing about XR or VR, there's so little code to get started, it's brilliant. If you wanted to get into virtual reality on native, or before this framework that I'm about to show you got made, you would have to physically make shapes using math and Like, I mean, I was really good at math at school, not so good at math now. Like, that's just life. Whereas WebVR, the framework, and then the frameworks that are built on top of it mean we can get started straight away, build something really, really quickly. FreeSwitch and ClueCon. So back in the end of July this year, wasn't it? Yeah, it got moved. It's usually in August. So back in the end of July, I did this exact same talk at ClueCon. And here's the result. So FreeSwitch has a mini project called Verto Communicator, and it's what they do conference calls on. And you can see you can add lots of people into a conference call, and it's just a conference call application that uses something called Verto, which is in FreeSwitch. It's basically a replacement for SIP, for WebRTC. And you can see me and Simon are in a VR experience, but we're in one big VR experience. Like we're in one cinema display of both of us. And that's a restriction of FreeSwitch because it's an MCU. An MCU basically takes all of our streams that we send up to FreeSwitch, all of our video streams and audio streams, and munges it together, and then outputs the same stream to absolutely everyone. That's what an MCU is. An SFU, which is what Asterisk is a selective forwarding unit. And that means that we all send up our streams, all of us conference people in this conference, we'd all send up our streams, and then Asterisk selectively sends a stream down to each person's browser depending on what they want, which means we get like individual streams for different people in that conference. So that's why it didn't actually go very well with FreeSwitch. Like I said, I put these talks into these two conferences not knowing if this was going to work. At ClueCon, it didn't really work. And I kind of got up on stage and went, it didn't really work, but there's loads of promise there. So it was kind of good, but it was kind of bad all at the same time. And yeah. It was kind of funny, but kind of not all at the same time. So I've said how kind of it didn't work at ClueCon. I'll show you a demo of what we're doing with Asterisk in the SFU right now. So it does work, but the hotel Wi-Fi is really, really strange with WebRTC and does really strange things to it. So if you see oddities, that it's the hotel Wi-Fi, which is really, really frustrating. But let's show you this. So let's refresh that. And I made that too big. I can't see what I'm doing. Can everyone see that? Okay. It's still too big. Okay. So this is a VR space, all within my browser, all using web technology. And this is a project called Cyber Mega Phone 2K that the Asterisk team a year ago released with the release of 15. It was designed to help people get started with the SFU component within 15 really quickly. So I went and adapted it for my needs. I can press connect, and that connects my WebSocket up to Asterisk. And then I can press call, and that's going to call into a conferencing bridge. Why is this not working? Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. So that's good. I was worried for a second. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So that's then created a call using SIP over WebSocket into a conferencing bridge within Asterisk that's set up to be an SFU. And basically, in my 3D space, I can be in this 3D space multiple times, and as more people join the conference, they join and they're around me. This is really difficult to kind of show off. Like, this looks really strange, doesn't it? I'm dragging, and it looks really, really weird. And that's because I can't really show you how this truly works when I take my phone and I go to the same web page. It's raining. Let's see whether or not I can. Oh, I can do this. There we go. So I'm up there, and my gyro on my phone is doing something strange. But you can see I've got two things within my phone view, and they match up with the lenses in my Daydream. And hey presto, I put that in there. And I'm not going to put it on because I look dumb. Has anyone seen someone wear a VR headset around and like they stand there going, oh, yeah. So I'm not going to do that. I look dumb enough as it is. But so basically, what I would be seeing within my headset is exactly this. And using the gyro on the phone, it automatically turns my environment around. It's virtual reality. So that's the demo. You don't seem very impressed. Are you impressed? So that's kind of, I mean, I get why you weren't clapping straight away. You're all kind of sat there going, that's a bit weird, and well, what's the use to it? So, okay, I'll show you what the use is and how quickly you can get started with it, because that's the really impressive thing. So first off, issues. And this issues list was huge at ClueCon, so I'm really pleased that the issues list has gone down to things that I can't control. So, issues. The user that is actually wearing your headset and in the conference can't really be in the conference. So, what happens when I put my phone into a headset? My webcam is covered. So I can be in the conference as an audio participant, but I can't really be in the conference as a video participant because, well, there isn't a camera that can see me. I mean, I could maybe hook up my phone, because phones now support this. I could hook my phone up to an external webcam, and I could be in the conference and people could see me looking like an idiot in a VR headset, but that doesn't really work, does it? So users using the headset can't really be in the session. So I think a really good example would be the keynote this morning. What if we were all not in that room and Simon was just up on the stage by himself in an empty room, and we were all somewhere else, maybe out on the beach when it's not hurricane season, I don't know. And we're all just kind of watching Simon in a VR space using our headsets. And you could see pretend avatars or something, I don't know. But a keynote is a really good example of what you could do. A meeting where everyone wants to talk to one another is not a great experience. So the camera on the phone is really unusable. So it's only very good for viewers. And this is the bit that really gets me. It's so simple on how. So like I said, I used CyberMegaphone 2K project, and that's on GitHub, github.com/***CyberMegaphone 2K. I mean, it is the most basic thing you've ever seen in your life. Like, the Asterisk team know full well that they're not very good designers. I think that's fair to say. So really it needs someone like me to actually go and make it look pretty, and maybe I might get some time to do that at some point. But it was a great starting point for me to go and build into. So WebVR, the WebVR bit, I'm not going to talk too much about the Asterisk SFU bit, because it's all documented online now. It's been out for a year. If you're interested in WebRTC and SFUs, you've kind of already looked at it. But in its most basic form, the Asterisk bit is upgrade to 16 or 15, add a new bridge that says it's SFU capable, and enable WebRTC. And that's it. Like, there is nothing special within Asterisk at all, other than all the clever bit that they actually build. There's nothing special that I have to do within Asterisk to make it work. There's no ARI application or anything. It's a line of dial plan, and that's it. So WebVR, this is the really good bit for me. I'm a web developer. I hate writing dial plan. I hate writing C code. I hate writing native code. I like web code. I like HTML, I like CSS, and I like JavaScript. I like JavaScript a lot. So writing HTML is second nature to me. And it means we can move really quickly. We don't have to go and deploy things. We don't have to kind of submit things to the App Store. And it's just go to a URL and it works. So can everyone see that code at the bottom? Can anyone not see it? Okay, no hands are up. Simon, you're old. Like, your eyesight's going. Anyway, so you'll see this is a block of code that I've added into that project, into the HTML section. And there's something called an A scene. I should probably explain what all the A's are. I used a framework called A-frame. And basically, how many of you are web developers? How many of you build newish stuff for web? Okay. So within Webland, we've now got these things called components. And basically, you pull in a component, and hey presto, I've got a really nice looking button. And I don't have to do anything. Or I bring in a soft phone, because a soft phone can be a component. And hey presto, it magically looks amazing, and it does all of the magic for me. I haven't had to do anything. It's like bringing in a module. So a scene is a component, is a module. A assets is a module. A entity, A entity, A entity. So a scene is our scene. So all of our VR experience lives within a scene. All of our code is within that block. So I can have HTML everywhere else, I can be doing loads of other things, but a scene is my experience. A assets. A assets is where I put all of my assets so that they can then get kind of transpiled into VR speak. So I'll show you some code in a minute, but basically, the video from Asterisk gets put into A assets, and then from A assets, it gets put into the VR experience. Because it's not actually a video tag within the VR experience, it's actually a canvas. And it's taking all the video data from A assets, and then kind of painting it onto a canvas, so that it can be in this 3D space. So that's A assets. Then there's entities. So A entity, environment, preset, forest. What did we see on the screen just a minute ago? We saw a VR experience of a forest. Did you think I actually made that experience with trees? No, I'm a web developer. You should know this by now. We're lazy. I'm gonna change that. We're efficient. So what did I do? I went and found a preset of forest, and there's loads of presets out there. And hey presto, someone else has already gone and made all of my shapes, all my trees, and all my sky, and all my grass, and done all that math for me, etc. I don't have to do anything. Media views, class of media views and ID of media views. That's where I go and put all of my video that will eventually appear in the environment. A entity camera, and then there's loads of other stuff. Look controls, camera. Anyway, all of that is basically putting me, the camera, in a particular place. So you can see there, position 0, 0, 0. I've put the camera in the middle of my VR experience, and I look around, and I'm in the middle of my VR experience. If I change that position, those are X, Y, and Z coordinates, because there is a Z axis, because we're in 3D, I could move my camera to another place. A-entity Daydream controls. That's this. So when you get a Daydream controller headset, you get a controller as well. And basically, you use it to kind of point at stuff within VR land. Your phone knows this has got accelerometers in it, it's got axes and things. And so it knows when I'm pressing buttons, it knows when I'm making it look upwards, etc. And so you can use this to interact with things in VR space. And hey presto, that's Bluetooth. So what can my browser now do? It can now talk to Bluetooth low energy devices because they're insecure. Like Simon said this morning, hey presto, Chrome can now interact with this. And this is the rest of the code. So I didn't really think this through because that's pretty tiny. Let's see whether or not I can fix that. Let's just show you the code, and we'll do this. Okay, so this is Cyber Megaphone, and you can see it's got a index.html file, it's got a JavaScript file, and it's got a CSS file. It's got some extra stuff in there to talk SIP over WebSocket, and it's got some other stuff to fix a WebRTC mess that I'm not even going to go into, but it's fixed because of this library. So the real good code is within index.html. And you can see at the very bottom, so this is the HTML of the page. Welcome to Cyber Megaphone 2K Ultimate Dynamic Edition. They really sold it. And then, where is it? Where is it? There's a marquee. There, marquee. Does everyone know what a marquee is? It looks horrible. It like goes, takes the header, and it goes across your page, and then it hits the other end, and then it comes back. And it does it over and over and over again. And someone thought this was a really, really good idea in 1995. And I don't know who decided to use it here, but it looks terrible. So here's the HTML of the page. So you can put in your connection. These are those buttons that you saw. There's an account modal. I've hard-coded a load of stuff, so I didn't have to bother with all of that. And then there's the interesting stuff. A scene, A assets, A entity. That's a really small bit of code to add in that scene. Well, I mean, it doesn't just work. I had to go in and add. A-frame.min and A-frame environment. A-frame environment component. That's what gave me all of that forest. I brought in A-frame as a framework, and I brought in the environment that I wanted as another JavaScript file. So what's that? There's 2 lines at the top. And then that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 lines of HTML. And I could probably make that I could make that 7, couldn't I? I could put A assets on the same line as closing A assets. Anyway, so that's the HTML. So that's super simple, isn't it? I mean, even a non-web developer could go and add 7 lines of code to a website, and hey presto, I've got a VR experience. But that VR experience doesn't actually do anything until we go and add some magic. So create media view is a function within Cyber Megaphone. Basically, every single time a channel gets added to that conference bridge, this function ends up getting called with a stream. So you can see I've commented out a ton of code because I didn't want, like, basically every single time someone got added, a box was added, and then the video was added within the box, and then there were buttons underneath saying mute, unmute, audio only, or whatever. I didn't want any of that. I just wanted a nice little video within a VR experience. So all of that's gone. So what did I add? So what happens when I've got a new stream? Well, I've got an ID number, and I use that later. And then we've got document.createElement a video. So a video gets put into my VR experience. It's basically that canvas that gets data shoved onto. And we set attributes onto that element. So I set a height of 9, and I set a width of 16. These are actually meters in, thanks. These are actually meters. And so that video is actually 9 by 16 meters within VR land. But basically, it's a 16 by 9 video. And then I set a position with some stuff, with an X and a Y and a Z. And then I also set a rotation. And then I have a little bit of really basic maths to say, okay, so my first video that I added, I want right in front of me. And then there's a second video. Where do I want that second video? I mean, ideally, we'd have a really complicated function that went, there's 20 people in this conference, and I've got a circle, so what's that? A diameter of a circle, and pi, and I wasn't dealing with that. I'm a web developer. I'm lazy. So basically, this just says, I've got one stream, I've got a new stream. Where am I going to put that new stream? I'm going to put it here. I've got another stream. Okay, I'm going to put it here. I've got another stream. Okay, I'm going to put it here. I mean, after 5, it breaks terribly. But for a demo to you guys, it was good enough. So we've got our A video, which gets put into our VR experience. It hasn't actually got put there yet. Then we go and get that media views, which is where we're going to put it. And we append that A video into that thing. I mean, that's pretty simple. Hasn't actually got any video on it yet. It's just a blank thing. Cool. Okay, so I go and get A assets, and that's where I'm going to go put the actual video. And I listen for load data so that I know when the video's loaded. At the moment, it just does a console.log. But it could go and reshuffle things. It could go, I've got a new video loaded. I'm going to shuffle them all about into a new dimension. So I go and create a video, and this is just WebRTC stuff now. Here's a video, and I'm going to set an attribute on it of new stream with an ID number, because I've got more than one video. I'm going to tell it I want to autoplay, and I'm going to set the source to nothing, and then I'm going to append that video into assets, because that's where it's going to load. Video on load metadata, so this is when the video is actually loaded into that video tag. It's going to go and get my video tracks, it's going to enable them for me, and then it's going to play the video. So this is all just basic WebRTC stuff. And then what does it do? New video. New video is our actual VR video. Set attribute, source, and it says, go get the source from the other video. Does that make sense? Yeah? No? Yes, okay. If it doesn't, come talk to me afterwards. I'm running out of time. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it. So, what's that? If I tidied up my math, what's that? That's, I don't know, that's less than 30 lines of JavaScript to go and completely change this application from a boring 1 video, 2 video, 3 video, 4 video, 5 into a VR experience that I can show off in a pair of goggles. Cool. Okay, I'm running out of time. I fully expected us to have a nice, like, lie down afterwards, but apparently I've only got 4 minutes left. So, was it successful? I mean, I think it was pretty successful. You can see the bare bones there. You can see what you could do with it. You don't have to have that forest. You could have a meeting room. You could have a table, and you could be, the camera wouldn't be in the center. The camera would be offset, and it would be as though you're sitting down at a table. You could do that. Was it successful? I think so. Phew. I mean, 1 out of 2 is pretty damn good, isn't it? I mean, so does it have promise? I think so, absolutely. I mean, you could go build something with video in VR today, and it would work really, really well, as long as you're not included in the thing, because there's no camera. But let's skip past that. So it definitely doesn't work if it's an MCU, like FreeSwitch. With MCU, every single time someone joined that conference, I essentially made that cinema screen. It was like we were at a drive-through, and there was a cinema screen. And every single time someone joined the conference, I essentially made that cinema screen longer. I mean, 50 people in that conference, and I mean, I would have been looking into the distance and not being able to see anyone. The SFU within Asterisk allows us to have all of those separate videos, and you can essentially have as many videos within that VR experience, and you could even walk around that experience. If you wrote enough code, you could change that camera angle and camera place, and you could go and you could walk around all of the different people and stand in front of them. I mean, virtually. But I mean, there's tons and tons of great demos to actually show you what you can really do if you write some good maths. Experiments.withgoogle.com/collection/WebVR. But you can just go to webvr.info as well, and there's a ton of links on there as well. So yeah, go create a new world in virtual reality and not have to see anyone ever again. Great. Yeah, go create a meeting room, go create a keynote, go do something a bit more imaginative than I can do. I mean, I'm only a web developer. That reminds me, if you want to play with exciting technologies such as WebRTC, WebXR, Asterisk, Node, a load of other stuff, React Native, Nimble8 is hiring, and I'd love to spend some more time kind of building these things out, but very, very busy. So I need people to help me become a bit less busy, so I can start building cool shit again. Sorry. Thank you very much, everyone. I don't have time for questions. I've got like a minute. So if anyone does have a question, I've got a minute.
Any questions for Dan?
No question.
I've got a question for you, Dan.
Have you got a question for me?
I have.
Is it about who helped you this morning create that amazing talk?
No, I think we've laboured that one to death. It was, you know, the background.
Yes.
That looked like it was algorithmic.
Yes.
Could you plonk a 3D video in there? As the background rather than the property within the...
You absolutely can. There's a asset that you can bring in that is specifically designed for 3D images and 3D video. So you absolutely can if you have the capability to do it. Whether or not you can actually send 3D video over WebRTC, some people have done it and some people have failed miserably. So that's a bit of a niche thing. I'd love to see a demo of that actually work, but I haven't actually seen one.
Okay, thank you. Fred?
Just wondering what that was on your hoodie there.
What was on my hoodie? Oh, what? My ComCon hoodie. The really nice hoodie from ComCon, which will probably happen in June next year in the UK, and it will be amazing. So you should all come to ComCon next year. We've got one more question down the front.
Oh, hang on. Haven't you got little legs?
Thanks. How would you fix the camera issue if you had to?
I don't know, to be perfectly honest. That's why I kind of say it's really good for viewing something. Yeah. Like, there was a conference probably a year ago, a Facebook conference from what I remember, and all of the people in the audience wore an HTC Vive or an Oculus Rift, I can't remember. And someone was up on stage presenting to a room full of people wearing VR headsets. I mean, the pictures looked the weirdest thing in the world because everyone was wearing a VR headset and he was just up on the stage talking to everyone like they were really there. Well, they were there, but you get what I mean. So they were all viewing him through VR, even though they were all in the same room. So that works really, really well, but really badly all at the same time. Yeah, figuring out the right ways of doing right scenarios to use this kind of stuff is interesting. Video doesn't work very well, but audio works tremendously well. So Mozilla did a demo where instead of video, they had avatars, like 3D avatars of people talking. And so, hey presto, you are talking to your mate, you are talking to your colleague, and people's mouths are moving, but it's not really them. And so, hey presto, that works really well. It's not them, but you get what? You get the gist. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoy Astricon.
Thank you, Dan.